Hey everyone, it's Sav here. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to make barbecue pork steamed buns. I have my crock pot here set to high, and that I'm going to add in a layer of my favorite jarred barbecue sauce. I like the hickory and brown sugar one from Sweet Baby Ray's. You can use whatever brand you like. Next, I'm going to add in half a cup of chopped fresh pineapple. You can use canned if you want, but it really tastes best with fresh pineapple. And I'm going to kind of spread it out evenly on the bottom there. In will go about 2 pounds or a little bit over 2 pounds of pork shoulder butt roast. I seasoned it with salt, pepper, onion, and garlic powder before I threw it in there. And now I'm going to add a layer of my barbecue sauce. I want a nice even layer, so I'm going to spread it out a bit. On top of that will go the rest of my pineapple, about half a cup. The pineapple has enzymes in it that will help break down and tenderize the pork. And not only will it do that, but it'll add a nice little flavor to it too. Last but not least, we'll go a quarter cup of hot water. Just cover this all up. Cook it on high for 4 hours. It doesn't get any simpler than this. You can literally leave this overnight in a crock pot. You can go to work. After 4 hours though, you want to remove the lid and flip over your pork shoulder and allow it to cook on high for 2 more hours. You can probably get away with cooking this for 6 hours straight without flipping it, but for me, I just prefer to flip it to make sure that I get both sides and that both sides are evenly tender. Once the pork is fork tender, I'm going to remove it and place it into a large bowl. Next, you want to shred it up. Then you want to dump the sauce from the crock pot into, I have this little mini colander here. And so this is just going to remove the pineapple chunks because I'm not really a big fan of the chunks of pineapple in the steamed buns, but if you like them, you can actually add them into there as well. But I'm going to actually discard of that. And now I have this yummy, tasty barbecue sauce, but I'm actually going to flavor it a bit more. I'm going to add in a spoonful of brown sugar, which is about a tablespoon. Give this all a really good mix. And this is really to my preference. You can give it a little taste check at the end, and if you like the way it tastes, and you can leave it as is. You can actually dump all the sauce into your shredded pork, but I'm actually going to leave some out so that we can dip it into them later. So here I'm adding in a big pinch of black pepper. You want to make sure to mix the sauce with your shredded pork really well until it's nice and moist. I'm going to cover up the bowl with a piece of saran wrap and then refrigerate this mixture until it's ready to use. It's really important that this mixture is cold before you use it. If not, you're going to have a really tough time making your steamed buns. While the pulled pork is being refrigerated, we are going to start on the dough. I have here all the things that you will need. Pretty easy and straightforward, especially if you can find this mix. You will need 200 milliliters of warm milk, 100 grams of sugar, and this is the mix that you want. If you can find it, get it. Oh my gosh, it is amazing. I purchased this from Hong Kong market. It has a packet of yeast inside, which is the secret to really fluffy buns, okay? So if you can't find it, I actually have a recipe on my blog for how to make it from scratch if you cannot find this mix, or really any mix that you could find with yeast inside will probably work just as well. I'm going to start off by dumping the contents into a large mixing bowl. In that, I'm going to pull out the yeast packet. I'm going to remove a spoonful of the flour mix for later use. First, you want to dump the warm milk into your sugar. This is about half a cup of sugar. And then I'm going to take that yeast packet and add that in. I'm going to give this a nice little stir. I'm going to let this mixture kind of hang out on the counter for about 5 minutes, just until it's a little bit creamy. After 5 minutes, I'm going to stir it while I'm dumping this into my flour mixture. That's because that sugar has settled on the bottom of the bowl. Next, you want to grab your spatula and start mixing. Then you want to get in there and start mixing it by hand. After about 3 minutes, you want to stop to add in about 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil or canola oil. Continue to knead this all by hand for an additional 1 to 2 minutes. Once the dough has come together, you want to transfer it onto a clean work surface and then continue to knead it by hand just until it forms a nice smooth round ball. You want to take a little bit of vegetable oil and place it into your large mixing bowl. Get in there with your hands and kind of smother it around the bowl. Take your dough, place it inside, toss the coat. Then you want to take a piece of saran wrap and I'm going to press it onto the surface of the dough. This is going to prevent a crust from forming. And I'm going to let that sit for about an hour until it's slightly doubled in size. It's been about an hour. My dough has become slightly puffy, not exactly doubled in size, but definitely noticeably puffier. I'm going to kind of poke at it with my fingers to deflate it a bit. Using your rolling pin, you want to roll out your dough, flatten it out a bit, starting from the middle, and then you want to roll it up into a log. Then you want to take the seams there, pinch to seal the seams, and then you want to roll this out to about a 16-inch long log, and then you want to cut that log into 12 equal-sized pieces. You want to take your rolling pin. I'm using a fondant roller here and I'm going to flatten out a piece of dough. Once it's flattened out, you want it to kind of fit in the palm of your hands. That's how you know how wide you want it. And then I'm going to take my rolling pin and just slightly flatten out just the outer edges, making sure that the middle is still slightly thicker than the outer edges. And see how it kind of fits perfectly in my palm. And then I'm going to take that cold barbecue pork mixture and place it right in the middle using an ice cream scoop. And then you want to fold the sides up here, and if you look at it, it looks kind of like a little miniature taco. And now it's really important that you pinch to seal, just like so, before you bring the other ends up and over. And now here, if you want to get fancy, you can kind of make pleats, and I just kind of, bunch everything up at the top. Don't need to get fancy because it's going to puff up and look all pretty at the end. And then just pinch to seal and kind of keep turning your dough as you go along. And you don't need to spend too much time on this part. You're practically done. Place the finished dough onto a parchment square and continue with the rest until you're done. It's going to look something like this. Place some of the buns into my steamer here. It's really important that you do not overcrowd them because they will puff up. I'm going to put the lid on top and I'm going to steam this for about 20 minutes or until they've gotten nice and puffy. It's going to look a little something like this. They are fluffy, not too sweet, not too salty, the right amount of barbecue pulled pork inside. You guys are going to love it. Thanks so much for watching.